Hey everybody, it's February 18th. It's day 30. So close. Technically, I guess we could probably consider this a month because lots of months have 30 days. Close enough, right? Let's say a month. We've completed one full cycle. Too many to go. I don't know how many. A lot. Let's get into it because we actually have a pretty long show today. So the White House released a statement today saying that Elon Musk, in case you've forgotten his last name, is not technically an employee of Doge and the Doge bags, but is just a senior White House advisor, an advisor to Trump. A lot of people are speculating that this is a legal loophole so that when inevitably Doge gets attacked for being an illegal organization, they can't specifically go after Elon because he won't be technically an employee. These are the kind of loopholes that, like destroy society. Because obviously, he is very clearly managing every single thing Doge does, coming up with all of the ideas himself. But hey, we'll just pretend that's not happening, right? Because if you just say it's not happening, I guess that's good enough for our courts. Speaking of which, a federal judge, actually Tanya Chutkan, decided not to block Doge from federal data or laying off workers. So you're on your own, kids. She basically said that in order to block Doge, there would need to be specific immediate harms, and that is still unclear, and that they have to come back later once there's more evidence, I guess. Okay, that's fine. When the world is a smoldering pile of rubble, we'll write you a letter, Tanya. No worries. Trump has called for an expansion of IVF, and what's really interesting about this, and I'm sorry, I didn't look into this specific piece of it. So he wants to expand IVF to make it more available to more people and to lower the cost, and that's great, actually. But that is very anti-Project 2025. I believe that, for them, because IVF extracts so many eggs, fertilized eggs, that their feeling is that is similar to an abortion because they're just sitting in a freezer and not all of those babies are going to, or eggs are going to become babies. That was my understanding of it. What is fascinating about this is I literally just heard yesterday that all of Elon's kids are IVF. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea if that's true. I'm going to tell you the rumor though, and I'll just say on the record, this is the rumor, that he has a penis enlargement that was botched and that it doesn't actually work anymore, and he has to use IVF to create babies. Go look it up. I don't have the time to be Googling that, and also I don't want that on my Google record. It sure would explain why he's so upset. Let's just leave it at that. Just interesting. It's just an interesting change of tune. I mean, at the same time, Trump used to be a Democrat, was always pro-abortion. He's not a real person. Nothing that he's gotten himself involved with has anything to do with him as a person. He is literally just a Trojan horse vehicle that they're using to take over the country. I digress. The U.S. and Russia came to an agreement to work towards an end in the Ukraine war. I don't know what the specifics are. They just basically said that they're working on it. Still, Ukraine has not been brought into this discussion at all. Trump made some sort of statement that he's upset, that Ukraine is upset, that they didn't get included in the conversation. Okay, whatever. Europe had a separate meeting without the United States about this. A bunch of the European countries, basically, they all said that they would like to help Ukraine, but only Keir Starmer, who is a UK Prime Minister, said that they would consider sending troops The rest of the countries, like Germany, Italy, I feel like France was there, etc. They all basically said it's premature. They're not ready to talk about sending troops to Ukraine. Everyone's scared, man. They're scared of Russia. They're scared of the United States. I don't blame them. They're also not used to having to be like the ones standing in front. So for as much shit as everyone talks about the United States of America, the U.S. has been like the Superman of the world as far as like putting themselves into everything that no one else wants to touch. Sometimes that's very, very bad. Sometimes it's actually pretty good. Sometimes we step in and help a country into war, like World War II. I don't know the specifics about that enough, but I know we were involved. I don't know that I can say that like we were the reason it ended by any stretch of the imagination, but we were involved. And we frequently are involved in pretty much everything, right? And again, for better or for worse. But now that we can't be, that we're no longer playing that role on the world stage, all of the people, all the other countries, sorry, to me, it's almost like a single entity, right? All these other countries are like, well, what the fuck? Like, we don't know how to, what are we going to do? This wasn't our role in the past, right? And a lot of these countries are significantly smaller than the United States. They have way less resources. They have less people. The United States has a lot of citizens. We're a big country. And so again, it's very scary for the rest of the world to have to like rush to try to figure out like a new world order in 5 seconds. I mean, to be fair, they should have fucking seen this coming. The second that Trump was elected, I think a lot of people tried to sing themselves a little lullaby of comfort and say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It'll just be like it was last time. Okay, well, is it? Has it been so far? No. They had a lot of time to practice their little routine, and they're getting it a little. They're hitting all the notes this time. Speaking of disasters, Republicans are planning billions in cuts to Medicare. Medicaid and Medicare, but specifically Medicaid. And we've talked about this before. It sounds like they're also planning to require work permits. The upside of that is 92% of Medicaid recipients are already working or in school or meeting other requirements. So I don't know if they're planning to like tighten. I know that their goal is to extract as much money from people in this country as humanly possible. So like they don't want to give anything away. They want to take as much back as they possibly can. So with that in mind, I'm assuming it's not going to be in any way kind, whatever they're going to do. And also some specific states are already kind of rushing this through, and it's likely that Trump is going to give them the go-ahead. Arkansas, Ohio, and South Dakota are planning to implement work laws for Medicaid like very soon. But we don't really have a timeline for when the Republicans are planning these cuts anyways, and obviously everything they're doing, they're trying to rush through essentially immediately. They're trying to meet these requirements so that they can do the giant tax break for the bajillionaires because they need more money to like piss on or whatever the fuck they do with it. They grind it up and they snort it. They turn it into a powder. I don't know. How could anyone need that much money, you fucks? Sorry. Just hate this planet. Texas and New Mexico are having huge measles outbreaks. Well, that's what happens when you don't fucking vaccinate anyone. Next story. I'm not even spending any more time on that. It's going to be our problem. All of this is eventually going to be our problem, just so you know. No matter where you are, how safe you think you are, you're not. You're not. It's creeping. It's creeping across the whole world. This makes me really sad, and it's also just not surprising, but Israel demolished a bunch of Palestinian homes with a bulldozer in the, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, the Tulkarem refugee camp. Again, they have their own plans. Whatever the ceasefire has been so far, and yes, there's going to be an exchange of more hostages. It sounds like there's 4 dead bodies to be exchanged on Thursday, and then 3 more live hostages this weekend. they're still rushing through these exchanges. That being said, they have their plan that they want the Palestinians out and gone, and they're gonna build their fucking, I don't know, dream homes on the seashore. Gross, but not surprising. Trump has cut legal aid for 100,000 unaccompanied minors that are facing deportation. So they are literal babies and kids here without their parents that now don't have access to like any kind of legal aid. I don't know what's going to happen to these kids. That's an absolutely horrific statistic. Makes me fucking sick. But what else is new? I'm gonna need a barf bucket next to me for the next 4 years. Doge is purging all the FDA workers that were reviewing his stupid fucking Neuralink brain chip. Again, oh, there's nothing to see here. There's no abuse of power. There's no corruption here, right? Except that everything he's doing directly benefits him financially. But don't worry about that. Absolutely disgusting. Studies on heart disease and cancer have been ground to a halt, obviously. I mean, all diseases, right? They pulled all the funding for these studies. Some of the studies were literally halfway through or close to finished. Doesn't matter. They have to just stop them now because they don't have any money. So if you have a loved one with heart disease or cancer, we're not going to be doing anything to help them anymore. Fuck those people, right? 16,000 people are dead from the flu so far this year. It's the worst year for the flu since 2009. There have been 370,000 hospitalizations. I want to say, I didn't write this down, but I think there's less than 100 pediatric deaths, which is good. That still is like significantly higher than a normal year. There typically are not deaths for children that are, significant. That being said, obviously it's nowhere near the total death toll. It's just a very, very bad flu season. In fact, I think close to 60,000 of those hospitalizations were in this last week. So just be careful. Know that there's like a lot of junk going around. I think that the states where it was worse were Texas and shit, I can't remember. It's online though. If you want to go look up which states have the highest, it goes from high to moderate. In any case, it's a bad year, so be careful. This is so weird. I'm so uncomfortable with this because I don't want to agree with anything that Steve Bannon ever says. But Steve Bannon is crashing out about Elon Musk online today. He hates him, and he's hated him for a long time. It's kind of like the original MAGA crew versus these like technocrat crazy people who are obsessed with Peter Thiel. And just have this like weird wet dream about AI being God. It doesn't really, like, those two things don't really go together, because there's like the basic, you got your garden variety white supremacists versus your like techie nerd white supremacists, like your blue collar white supremacists versus the techie nerd. They're like almost diametrically opposed. And I think that I don't know. I try not to listen to anything Steve Bannon ever says, but I think he hates billionaires, right? Doesn't he? I don't know. Anyways, he went online today and called Elon Musk a parasitic illegal immigrant. And in the past, I'm going to read you this quote that he said. This was in January. He said, Peter Thiel, David Sachs, and Elon Musk are all white South Africans. Go back to South Africa. Why do we have the most racist people on earth making any comments about what goes on in the United States? Again, I'm uncomfortable that I don't disagree with Steve Bannon, but I think what is happening here to some degree is that Donald Trump is a Trojan horse puppet that people are using to try to get their own agendas shoved through the door that are not welcomed by the majority of the people. And the people that are welcoming them in are doing it because they have no idea what they're doing. They don't know what these people are actually doing. And the second they start to find it out, I mean, I've been seeing more and more videos of regretful Trump supporters realizing that how this is affecting them directly, and realizing that Project 2025 was always the plan and that they told them, and then being really confused, like, well, but Trump said it wasn't. Anyways, long story short, I think what's happening is the various groups that are trying to be handlers for Trump they're all, sorry, I paused for a second because I had some weird phone call. Anyways, the various groups that are trying to be handlers for Trump, they're all fighting for power, and they're also all headed up by these various narcissist, sociopath people. So, like, those types of people cannot coexist. That's like sharks, you know? It's like, trying to think of another animal that hates other animals, right? It's like snakes, sharks. They're not pack animals, okay? So these people are eventually going to destroy each other. It's just the way it goes. It's literally just a matter of time before they do. And I think, again, that the only reason why Trump and Elon are not destroying each other is because I believe that Trump needs Elon to stay out of jail. And Elon needs Trump so that Elon can actually be president of the United States, because he can't, right? But he, for all intents and purposes, he is now. So congratulations, Elon. Which, by the way, you should go look up the video. Someday I'll figure out how to put videos in here. You should go look up the video of Netanyahu and Elon Musk cackling and giggling about how Elon Musk is going to basically be the president of the United States. Again, they've been like planning this shit for a long fucking time. The DOJ is seeking an investigation into AOC. I don't believe it's been approved yet, but they want to investigate her because she held an online seminar for immigrants to help them understand and know their rights. Now, the DOJ is claiming that she's impeding ICE. That's interesting. What does that imply? Does it imply that ICE is trying to, well, of course, it's not a secret, right? They're trying to eliminate people's rights, obviously. They're trying to catch people up. They don't want you to know your rights. If you know your rights, then you can avoid them, you can fight back. That's the last thing they want. Again, all of the things that Trump and his cronies are doing require stupidity on the part of the citizens of this country. And unfortunately, they had enough stupidity here to lean into to get through the door. Southwest Airlines has fired 15% of its total workforce. Planes are really having a bad day. Now here's another little gem for you when it comes to absolute corruption. Elon is offering up SpaceX to help air travel. He literally went online and said that air travel is a nonpartisan issue and SpaceX wants to help everyone and wants to make it safe. Oh, that's so funny. That's so interesting, because he is directly responsible for what's happening to air travel right now. These people are fucking sick. The worst part of it is that a bunch of Trump supporters are going to be like, oh, they're so great. They're making America great again. I can't, dude. I just can't. We live on separate planets somehow, and yet I still have to share breathing space. I don't want to. Credit card debt in the United States has hit an all-time high of $1.21 trillion. $45 billion of which was added just in the fourth quarter of 2024, meaning October, November, December of last year. And our credit card balances, the average credit card balance per household is 7.3% higher than it was 1 year ago. So what that tells you is that I mean, the flimsiness of our financial situation cannot be overstated. And Americans, I feel like in a lot of ways, Americans are just like, fuck it. And they're putting things on their credit cards. I would say at least half the people here are like, I don't even know how much longer this country is going to be around. So I'm just going to like buy shit on my credit card. I don't care. And then there's also a lot of people that have no choice, by the way. Like, actually, the vast majority of these purchases, because I talk about this a lot on TikTok, the vast majority of what is being purchased are essentials. It's not like people are going out and buying, like, concert tickets. They're buying groceries, dude. They're buying toilet paper. People are suffering, and it's not... I know we have so much focus on inflation right now. It's not, inflation is not good. First of all, people are confused about what inflation even is. What people are actually upset about is price gouging, just for the record. They're upset about the costs of goods and services and food, etc. That's price gouging. That's not inflation. But beyond that, the cost of living versus wage stagnation is the real problem. So we can't afford homes, we can't afford education, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that has a lot to do with the fact that wages haven't gone up in any meaningful way for 70 years. So anyways, if there has ever been a more ripe condition for revolution, I have not seen it. I have yet to see it. It's going to be a real weird year. Yeah. Okay, that's today's show. Do I have any words of advice for you? I don't think so. Oh, I did, however, decide to, I'm reading too many books right now. I need to stop. I'm just getting excited because I just bought myself a Kindle and I downloaded a book called, it's about the Dust Bowl. It's like The Worst Time Ever or something. Anyways, it's about the period of time during the Dust Bowl, which I didn't know very much about the Dust Bowl. It happened during the Depression and it lasted for 7 years or 8 years, the Dust Bowl did. And it was so bad that they had to invent new mental illnesses. Like there was a mental illness where people would just be out in the street wandering around in the dust muttering to themselves. Like they were going crazy. And there was new physical illnesses because people had so much actual literal dirt in their lungs. So it was like a form of pneumonia that comes from, I guess, having dirt in your lungs. There was no food. Everyone was dying. They were trapped. They couldn't leave. And there was also like no money and no jobs. And it was just literally horrendous. And I'm reading this. You're like, what the fuck are you doing, lady? I'm reading this to remind myself that other generations have lived through some fucked up shit. By the way, they didn't have internet. They didn't have air conditioning or heat. They didn't have grocery stores. Yeah, I mean, they probably had like little store-ish types of things, but not what we know today. Their cars could barely, I mean, there were barely even cars yet, right? So like, they couldn't leave those cities because there were just these big piles of dust in the street. And their car would get, like, stuck in them. So anyways, long story short, what I'm telling you is, as much as all of this is very scary, we have a much better life than people ever did before. We have still, at least for now, access to really great medical care, even if it's very expensive and it's not affordable, but it's there. And we have grocery stores and we have, you know, a lot of conveniences. We have a lot of food. We have a lot of entertainment. We have pretty good lives. And I don't want to forget that because I think it's going to be easier and easier to forget. And I really wish that the silent generation was still, that there were more of them still around right now, because I think that they could really help us. Like, I know that the things my grandparents lived through, they weren't in the Dust Bowl, but they were in the Depression, and, you know, they knew how to survive a lot of shit. So if you know somebody who lived through those times, it's probably a good idea to ask them for advice. You know, we need to lean on each other for information. Anyways, love you guys. Maybe you shouldn't read that book, though, because in the recommendation, the person said that they haven't stopped having nightmares ever since they read it. So I don't know. I'm weird. I'm cool with that. See you tomorrow.